Hello, hello. I'm live. We're live. Invitation program. Thank you, TikTok. Hello, anyone who may be in here already. I am just setting up, getting ready to interview Starr, which I'm very excited about, who is a member of Pretty Frankenstein, a band which, after listening to, I classify heavily as deathrock, but I'm interested to talk more about how they classify themselves. So if you're a deathrock fan, goth rock fan, post-punk fan, this interview and band is for you. So definitely check out Pretty Frankenstein if you're into the goth, post-punk / deathrock genres. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. Today we're going to be talking with Starr of Pretty Frankenstein. So if you're into goth rock, death rock, post-punk, this is for you today. We're listening to Pretty Frankenstein right now. So thank you for being here. Let me know where you're from, what's going on in your universe, if you're joining us here today. Okay. All right, Chris Whaler. Thanks for being here today. All right, let me see here. Let me double check the co-host thing. Oh, here we go. Invite. Yay! Okay, it's working. This is barely the... Oh my goodness, hello!
Hello, how's it going?
It's going great! This is a trip!
Yes.
I love your ears.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Our friend Sierra just we hadn't seen her since like before Christmas, and she came by and dropped off our Christmas presents, and this was one of them. So I was like,
amazing. They're so cute, and those are bat ears, right?
yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Thank you. I love your hair and all the whole vibe and setup.
Thank you. You too, and like, of course, the bat in the background as well.
Yes, that's kind of like the signature of how you know I'm in the studio.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, oh my gosh, this is such a trip because you see people on TikTok and you sort of get the not pseudo-social, parasocial type of thing going on. And then you actually connect in real time and it's like a trip.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like I've met so many like now close friends from like TikTok lives or Instagram lives or even my friend Michelle Halloween every season is her Instagram handle,
Oh,
but she
there you go.
yeah, she's awesome and like we're like super tight now ever since like I was on her like YouTube podcast a couple of times.
Oh, that is so awesome. I love it. I love that we can like really like it's genuine community through online. It's wild.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining today. I'm really excited to get more into your music, and I have some songs playing in the background. I don't know if that would be too distracting or too loud.
No, no,
Um,
no. That's totally fine for me.
okay,
I was just playing the Cure to get set up, you know, get in the mood. So
nice. I was playing your band. Pretty
nice.
Frankenstein. For those of you who are in here today and just joining, hey,
Woo.
what's going on? Going on. Dennis Jordy. I hope I pronounced that right. Thanks for being here today. Today we're talking with, and I'm adjusting my wig in real time.
Oh no, I totally feel it.
Yeah. Today we were talking with Starr, correct?
Woo.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Starr from the band Pretty Frankenstein. Which before we get into the official questions, I kind of asked you this, over DM. And what I love, I'm not like a genre snob by any
Mm.
means, but I feel like genre labels can be helpful just in terms of other people understanding, what to expect. And when
Yeah.
I listen to most of your music, well, first let me say one thing I appreciate about your music is you don't seem to shy away from trying new things or trying different things or pulling things from different genres. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like that. But like as a whole, when I listen to your music, I'm like, I get like personally, I get like a death rock kind of
Yes.
experience. Yeah, which I love. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely a huge influence, like the death rock, dark wave, and post punk, and all the like goth stuff I grew up with. I was very fortunate to have like super like cool goth parents in the '90s, the '80s and '90s. So it was like, other people's parents were like rocking the Bryan Adams or some shit, and like, I was thankful to be like, the first band I remember hearing and being super into was Nine Inch Nails
oh wow.
and like Depeche Mode because of my parents. And they were like in bands and stuff like that. So like, obviously that's very like deep rooted into my sound and personality. But I think like the branching out to other genres and stuff like that is because like I also grew up with a lot of other different kinds of music, and I some of my like beginnings in performing music were actually like I was in a hip hop group called Spirits in the Basement where I produced and I rapped, and there was like seven of us. It was like me and my Vietnamese friend Nam, and then like we had Najee and Quincy, and like all the rest of the band was it was like 3-4 black dudes with dreads, and it was like amazing because we were like this POC like alternative hip hop group in the early 2000s, and
Wow.
so from that it was like it's been, I wouldn't say hard to get that out, but I don't want to like leave that behind. So every once in a while you'll listen to an album of ours, and like like our album In Mirrors and the song In Mirrors, it's
I was gonna
like,
say
yeah, and
yeah.
it's like, oh, Gray's just like spitting somewhat bars in this track. Okay, cool, so yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was thinking about when I said I love that you incorporate styles that you don't typically hear together. Like you don't typically hear like those hip hop elements with um, bands that sound like they have a lot of death rock, post rock influences. So I love that. I think that's awesome. And have you had any sort of uh, well, first of all, it doesn't sound like you're trying to be any one particular genre or fit into any particular scene, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you just like create what you create. But have you had any people sort of gatekeep, oh, you can't be part of this genre or this scene? I feel like that's more of an online thing than it is in real life, but
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had, what's funny is like I've never had that when it's come to like us doing like songs with with like hip hop verses, or when we feature like hip hop artists, or even when we go like a completely like poppy route or anything. The only discourse that I've actually faced when it comes to that is people complaining about like it's always the goth versus emo side.
uh,
So it's like, oh, this is more emo, or oh, this is blah blah blah, and it's like, I'm like, I just like, you can like MCR and Bauhaus.
right.
There's nothing that says
Thank
you can't.
you.
Like,
Someone has to say these things.
yeah, just because I listen to Fallout Boy like on the ride to the store doesn't mean I'm like not also rocking like Peter Steele or some shit. It's like it. I think these like labels are, they're kind of necessary if we want to like push out our music to certain people, but
Right.
they can also like hinder us as far as like what people would expect.
Yeah. I totally see what you're saying. It's like use the hashtag or the genre label to see fans of this may also like us. But then you have
Yeah.
some of those fans who are very like too particular, which is
Yeah.
fine for them. But when they project it onto other people, it's like, all right, calm down.
And it's funny because for me, if you dive into somebody's discography long enough, you'll find like the influences. Like I feel like the perfect example of or possibly the closest example to kind of what we do is like AFI, where
Okay. Mhm.
AFI, whereas we would just put it all on one album. AFI has that history of like they started off super like, punk, and then they went into like kind of like horror punk, and then they went like full on emo, and then they went kind of electronic, and you're like, and it's kind of like they bridge many different gaps. So if any goth person is like, "Oh, I don't like emo shit like AFI," and it's like, "Well, have you listened to this album? Because it's like pretty much like a goth album." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right, exactly. And then people just get preconceived ideas and then kind of like make judgments without even really listening. So, yeah, just
Yeah.
curious if you experience any of that because your music is has so much diversity in it. But I'm glad to say, would you say most people are just more positively receptive?
Yeah, I think the more that we kind of like branch out and do things that are kind of out of the box, it's like, I think a lot of people really dig it because they don't know what to expect entirely from us.
Yeah.
They can expect a vibe. I would say like, every song or album is gonna be at least somewhat spooky.
Yeah.
There's definitely gonna be the goth influences, or and if not goth, then like goth adjacent influences.
Right. Hmm.
But like, I think overall sound wise, I think it's pretty like, fun. Like, I would say kind of like when
Yeah.
when the Gorillas first came out, I was like, I didn't know what to expect from them because like every song was completely different. The first album is you have songs like what's it called? There's that song, I think it's just called like Punk or something like that, and it's super like old school like 70s style punk. But then the next song
Oh
is like,
wow, I haven't
you
heard
know,
that.
oh, it's so
I'll have to
good.
check it out.
Yeah, Gorilla's first album is amazing, and it's like that where it bridges all kinds of different genres into one
Yeah.
album.
Awesome. I love that. So, how did you choose the name Pretty Frankenstein? Where did that come from?
Um, it's actually super funny. So the short answer is I was working at this like witchy shop here in the town that I live, and the I don't know, I was just kind of like feeling myself one day, and I took a picture, and this is before I started transitioning, and I had like some eyeliner on, and I was like, cool. So I just took a selfie and I sent to my partner. I was like, "Uh oh, pretty Frankenstein," or "Uh oh, like Frankenstein got into the eyeshadow palettes," and he was like, "Oh, you a pretty Frankenstein," and I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah," and then I was like, "Oh shit, there it is." So that's like the short answer.
yeah.
The
Oh,
long answer to like the meaning of the name now is like it very much coincides, I feel, with what we do genre wise, where you have all of these influences and we just kind of Frankenstein them together into songs and albums.
yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love how, first of all, I love when band names have like a legit story behind them. Like, that's like a cute story, too.
Yeah.
And
Thank
then,
you.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, and it's still so relevant and applicable to your band and your music today, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's the one that I've stuck with the longest. Like I tried to like there was a brief period of time in like I think it was like 2020 where I was like, okay, maybe I'll cuz I've had this bad habit of like switching band names and switching like projects every other year. But this one we've been going on for like 4 years now, or like 2019. So like we started the beginning of 2019. We're like playing a whole bunch of shows. And then the pandemic
Oh
happened,
my gosh.
and then it
Yeah.
was like, oh god damn it. But it's all good. But yeah, I I think that's one of the reasons that like no matter what I do, it's probably gonna be like Pretty Frankenstein.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, oh my gosh, it's just so interesting how everything's so affected. Like as soon as you said we started in the beginning of 2019, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what a year to start with that. 2 years. Well, it's still kind of going on, but definitely 2020, 2021 were more, I guess you could say, intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the band members that you have in Pretty Frankenstein, because you said that you go from project to project and change band names. Had you
Yeah.
been playing together for a while before kind of coming together as Pretty Frankenstein, or was this like a whole new set of people?
Well, it's so we are very much like we're very much like 9 Inch in the way of like, you know, it's me, and then who knows who else is gonna be there when you go like. But
Yeah.
right now, I feel like for the past few months, we've had a really good core group, which is right now it's me, Paulina, who is our guitarist, and Marina, who is our bassist and sometimes singer, and then Edward is our producer, but was our drummer, and
Oh,
he's yeah he drums for us when he can. So like, but he's also like super busy, but like all of our stuff is like mixed and mastered by him.
okay.
And so it's those three core members. Before it was the project actually started, it was a duo of me and my partner Vince.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how long did you exist as a duo or create as a duo before starting to get more members?
Yeah, we were the duo for like pretty much the first entire like recording of the album and up until pretty much up until the pandemic.
Okay.
And then his art like started, kind of taking off, and he comes in every once in a while to play bass, but like he yeah, his handle is Halloween Herbivore on Instagram, and
Oh,
he's
okay.
like, yeah, or Halloween Herbivore Art, I should say, and he's like, you know, it's really cool stuff, and he's like really popping off. It's amazing. It's great, but
Cool.
the yeah, we were doing that up until 2020, and then 2020 rolled around, and we started playing less shows, and then it was like, okay, and like we ended up, I think, doing one or two shows that year with a group that would stay together until 2022. And yeah, just last year we like switched everything up. So
Okay. And so the members that are in the Girls Will Be Ghouls music video, is that a different lineup than you have right now?
technically not. Okay, so the funny thing is Marina wasn't in the band yet. Marina, our bassist, is Paulina, our guitarist's girlfriend, and
Okay.
yeah, and they're so fucking cute. It's disgusting, but they yeah. So Marina is actually in "Girls Will Be Ghouls," the music video, but
Oh,
she's
okay.
she's
Very
one of the people that shows up and dances at the little party.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and originally we had actually planned to have like so many more people be a part of that, but a lot of them actually bailed because COVID was getting like kind
Oh,
of bad around then. So we were like, oh shit, we might have to keep it to like our little circle. Oh,
yeah.
hey Jennifer, how's it going? That's our friend Jenny Panda is in the chat. She's awesome.
Awesome. Hello. And also hello to Bob if you're still in here. A kid
Woo.
named Bob. Well, that's really cool. And you know what? It's funny because I actually like the music video the way that it is, with kind of like the band playing, and then like basically like it's a party of four, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that though, because it's like you don't need I feel like there's always this pressure to like do things bigger and you know, better, and like, have all this clout and all these numbers and all these people. It's like you could have such a good time with just like a small group of people, you know?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could have a
And
party.
I what I love about that video is oh, also a little trivia about that video. My mom is the one playing the keyboard in the wolf mask.
Oh, no
Um,
way.
yeah,
Oh my god, that is amazing.
yeah. But oh, thanks, Jen. Yeah, our friend Sierra that you met actually gave him to us. But yeah, so my mom's the wolf, and then it's what I love about that is the random cis white guy that like peeks out and is like, oh, where's all these goth people going? What's happening here? And then everybody's just partying together at the end. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that video. So I like how it turned out.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah, and also I wanted to ask that too. So, um, and it's okay if you don't want to answer this question because I know certain things could be loaded questions, and when it comes to like family,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
could be, you know, a lot of layers. But it sounds like, you know, with your parents having been in goth bands, were they excited that, you know, you started making music, and are they supportive of your music?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm super lucky that I have like really supportive parents when it comes to both the music and like who I am as a person. Like I my mom is queer and like it's yeah, as soon as I told them I was like 13 um or like maybe 14. So either way, 20 years ago, that's a really long time. I am so old. But
No, you're not.
but the I had told them that I wanted to, start like singing and performing, and then my mom like sat me down right then by the piano, and like we started like singing songs together, and like I started writing and
Aw.
stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Shout out to your mom
yeah.
and your parents. um, so oh, we already talked about how long you've been a band. Um, so when did you? I mean, it sounds like that was the answer to when you personally started making music. You said like at age 13.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like 13 or 14, and around then I was like really I was like just obsessed with like Metallica and the Misfits, like,
Okay.
any like alternative like 14-year-old. But
Yeah.
then I think it was like maybe a year or two after that like and I had liked Green Day, but it was like a year or two after that when I turned 16 that American Idiot came out, and like my fucking brain exploded. And then like MCR came out, and it was just like all of this, like all of the like emo classic stuff that was like very cool for like a goth kid to hear, because it was like you could pinpoint like where the influence was.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think like 2004 was when I really got into it, where I started like super writing songs, where I like started performing a whole bunch.
Mm.
And I was like full on like I was rocking like blue Bowie eyeshadow, but it was put on terribly. I had like my suits, my like 70s suits that I would go to school in, and like my spiky hair and stuff, and it was like, yeah, I mean, um so yeah, it's been a while.
I think we might be the same age if my math is right. I think
Oh,
we're
nice.
yeah. I'm like you're not old.
If I'm old, then you're old. No.
Yeah. No, I used to honestly say it all the time. Like when I was 28, I felt so old. Like I
Yeah.
felt like I was too old to do anything. Like, you know, I've got to start being like normal now. And then like,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened once I turned 30. I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna do what I want and be what I'm into, and I don't care
Yeah.
who thinks
And I
what.
I think the pandemic also like super changed
Yeah,
like everybody's like, oh yeah, no,
yeah,
this is what I want to do, is what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
like especially
yeah,
like when it came to like so many people came out during the pandemic. It's just like, that was like the ultimate, like, oh, self-reflect, by the way, you're trans.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
but yeah, no, I totally feel that. It's like in the 30s, you hit that point where you're just like, fuck it, I
Yeah.
don't care. And it's so weird because I went through the exact same thing where like in my 20s I just felt like I was like such a, I was like, oh, all new music is bad and blah 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 blah. And like now, because I'm going through an essential second puberty, I'm like, I love new music. I love this and that. Like fucking, and like I'll wear bat ears if I want. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And then what I love about that too is you'll find the people that appreciate you. Like I
Yeah,
appreciated your bat ears. You had someone else in the chat appreciating your bat ears.
yeah,
Like, yeah, do what you want, and people who are gonna judge you or you know not be on board with who you are or what you like, I mean, their loss.
exactly.
Easier said than done in some cases because sometimes people can get real scary, but just as a whole, it doesn't. If you can be who you are in safety, it doesn't do us any good to not be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's see here. So yeah, speaking of influences, you've touched on some Green Day and AFI, Nine Inch Nails. Who would you say were some of your biggest influences when you started making music, and who, if anyone, kind of influences it and inspires you now?
I think there's so many. It's like
Yeah.
it's crazy because like it when I was a teenager, like it was like the three big ones for me were Nine Inch, Green Day, and David Bowie. And like when I got obsessed with Bowie, I like got obsessed with Bowie. Like I like wanted to be him. I wanted to like, you know, uh, just like I don't know. I wanted to dress like him. I wanted to sound like him, and that's why I it's so weird because like my voice singing wise is very much in the same kind of tonality sometimes. So like that's just been like what's the word like put into me since I was like a teenager,
Yeah.
and so I would say those three, but then nowadays it's like it's literally everybody. Like I love so much like stuff like especially when it comes to like the world of hip hop, which is fucking so awesome because like I loved hip hop growing up and when I was in the hip hop group, but like I was very much back then like into like old school stuff. So like
Yeah.
I loved like Public Enemy and I loved like KRS-One and and some like I really liked underground stuff or what I considered underground like
Yeah.
Immortal Technique and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like now it's like dude like even like the mainstream artists are like saying like this or that and they're it's so cool and like everybody's like genres are not a thing anymore like fucking there's who is it Denzel Curry is one of my favorite rappers
Oh, I haven't
and
heard him.
he is awesome. Denzel Curry is like he's it's weird because it's almost like goth adjacent sometimes. Like
Oh, that's awesome.
he has a song called Clout Cobain, and if you watch the video for that, it's all like circus performers, and he's like wearing like clown makeup and like in this like mime fit, but it's like black and white, and it's like super dope. But he is like he's like covered Rage Against Machine songs and he's like he has like guitarists featured on his tracks and stuff and like or even like Doja Cat who like busts out with like a fucking cover of Celebrity Skin randomly and wants to start doing punk and like
Yes.
it's so cool to see and I love like most young artists. Like, I mean, of course, like everybody has their love for like Billie Eilish and like Youngblood and all those people like that. But yeah, like there's so many. I would say the one that like the newer artist, or not even newer, like she's kind of been around for a minute, but if anybody watches my like stories on Instagram, they know like I am obsessed with Lizzo, and I think that
Oh my
woman
gosh.
is just like the world.
Yeah,
And
no, she's so incredible. And I love like everything. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't heard her more recent stuff. I should
yeah,
definitely check it out. Um,
Special it's a great album. It's so good.
yeah, okay, I haven't checked it out yet, but everything I've heard from her, I've really loved. But I also love, I think it was her first album where she was like straight spitting on that album, and I'm like,
Yes.
I want to see her do that more now. But I understand people like evolve and change like musically, but
Yeah, and
she's so good.
what's great about her is like, obviously she's like everywhere now, and I've watched all of her shows and specials and everything, and I'm such a fangirl for her. But like the like coolest thing is that like you can go back and you can actually see her progression of
Yeah,
how she like worked her ass off, especially being like our age, and she like worked her ass off to get where she is. And like I feel like so many people these days, it's like they're like nepotism babies, or like they're
yeah,
like they had this in or whatever, and I'm sure she had some connection along the way, but that was a connection that she made
yeah,
from like performing, or from like just hustling like every day. So you know that's
yeah.
something I've always super appreciated about her.
Yeah, she's amazing on so many levels. So awesome. Yeah, it's awesome to hear that uh these are some of your like more modern influences today. So what's the I mean, I'm sure you're involved in like many music scenes, but what's the kind of goth punk alternative music scene like in Oakland these days?
It's funny because I'm such a poser, because I actually don't like I grew up in Richmond and Oakland, and those were like my two homes.
Oh,
And Richmond, California, not Richmond, Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
whoa.
yeah. No, Richmond, California is like it's it's not the best area. Like I would tell people who like grew up in Oakland that like I grew up in Richmond, California, and like they would be like, "Oh shit, like really?" And it was really hard like childhood. Like we lived in some like not great places, but um like I don't venture out to Oakland as much as I'd like anymore, especially with like the pandemic,
Yeah.
and so many venues have like closed down, and
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
yeah, like we had to our show coming up with Hoity Toity and Boy Junior, like we had to reschedule that for a venue out here in Alameda where I currently live, which is like it's like literally a mile or two from Oakland. But
Okay.
because the original spot that we had in Oakland was another venue that closed down.
Oh, man.
And
Just like that fast, like recently?
yeah, it was like over the course of the pandemic, like a lot of places went that like we had a really good standing with, like places like Uptown Nightclub in downtown Oakland, which was like one of our favorite spots, and that was like second home for the band. They ended up closing down, and we were like crushed because like so many amazing artists like played there. Like Green Day would do their secret shows there.
Oh,
We would have like I think like Dead Kennedys would play there. I was like I got to do like a little Q&A thing with Jello Biafra there one time. It was like it was a great spot, and so there's that part of it which kind of sucks. Like there's some stuff that's popping up, but then some stuff that's like leaving. But aside from that,
yeah.
with the places that are still in place, I mean, it's great. Like the goth scene out here is pretty chill and like very open.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Gen X folks that are like the proprietors of it out here and kind of like run the goth scene. But Death Guild is still happening at DNA Lounge. All that kind of stuff still goes on. And even in our little town, actually, it's pretty wild because like in our little town, Alameda, we have like a bunch of goth events. Like, pretty much every other month there's some like big goth market or some
Ooh.
big, goth like witchy vibe, festival or something like that. So that's kind of cool. Like I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie and pretend that we don't have anything out here. And then the punk scene is like very much like, as far as punk, like Oakland punk is like punk. You know what I mean? Like it's like queer, it's POC, it's like if people can't play in a venue, then they're like fucking rocking out on the street or in a library or wherever like doesn't kick them out, shows still happening at the skate park and everything, or like, people still have like generator shows, or like, bands like tour and they come to Oakland and they play somebody's like house show,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so it's always going to be that way too. And that's great.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. And that kind of highlights too, like, as sad as it is when venues close down, especially if they're really historic and important to the community, that it's not necessarily about the place, it's about the people, which can be anywhere, like you said, in a house, in a library. Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah, some of the best shows that I've been to have been like, oh, we're gonna set up a generator at Mosswood Park and play in the little amphitheater, or like, oh, we're gonna, in the back of this record store, we're doing, blah blah blah, and fucking Billy Joe's gonna show up and do a couple of songs, and you're like, oh, okay, not a big deal, whatever. Like it's wild.
Yeah, that is wild. That's really cool. I love that. Okay, so kind of touching on that, it sounds like for the most part things are still good and going strong in their own way, even though some important venues have closed. But do you feel like there's anything missing from like the Galt or alt scenes these days, or conversely, or you can answer both? What do you think is good about it now, online and or in person?
Yeah, I think what's good about it online and in person is it is very inclusive, and I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, it's not. It's almost like we don't highlight certain people enough. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not even just speaking about myself. Obviously, I would like to be like more well known, and that's any artist. But even, when I talk about like bands like Tears for the Dying or other, queer or POC acts, like, I would like to see them more in the front. And like, and I love people like Maddie Danger and, and Vision Video and everything. But also I'm like, okay, well, I would like to see, like a POC artist or a queer non-cis goth artist that's blowing up just as much as these people. You know what I mean? Like, and
yes, 100%.
It's like it. Obviously, it's a mixture of jealousy. Even though, like, I know, like, those people have like super hustled, and they're, like I said, they're great, and I adore them. And Dusty is like such a nice. Like, we talk every once in a while, and like, we've been trying to put together like something where we can open for them. And like I said, he's great, and they're amazing. But I would like to see I would love to see like the goth scene gravitate just as much to to like a black artist or to a, which also does bring me to Urban Heat, which is Urban Heat is great. And I'm so glad that they're popping off in the same way now. So that's, if you want a great, like, POC goth band, check out Urban Heat for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes of things and artists I haven't checked out yet.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, like, I would also like to see less, like, I feel like there's too much, like, the thing that I really don't like about the goth scene is there's too much gatekeeping when it comes to how people discover things. Like,
right.
I'm very much like, if Wednesday's doing a dance and we can make a video of her doing a dance to one of our songs and people are like, oh, this does remind me of that song by that other band, then, like, fuck it, like, use it, go for it, like, it's awesome. Like,
100%.
The music that us goths, like, grew up with is, like, coming back and being, like, more popular than it was back then.
Yes.
So, like, I don't see anything wrong with it. If everybody knows who Kate Bush is now because of Stranger Things, like, who gives a shit? Awesome. Like,
exactly.
And good for Kate Bush. She's probably got, like, how many millions of dollars just from fucking running up that hill, like.
Seriously, no, I love that. It's so true and that goes, like, not even just for goth, but almost like any sort of, like, underground genre where you have people who, like, want to protect it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but how is, like, you gatekeeping this band and preventing more people from getting into them and supporting them going to help the band? Like,
yeah. Also, let's be real. Metallica is probably the biggest band in the world. You're not keeping them from anybody. Like,
from anybody. It's so funny, and that's even funnier when people, like, want to gatekeep. Like Wednesday, it's like, dude, pop icon, first of all. Like,
yeah.
The Addams Family.
Yeah, and, like, the Cramps was a little more underground than, say, Metallica was.
Right.
So it is really cool to see them, like, pop off like that. But they weren't completely underground. You know what I mean? They weren't, like, if you talk to anybody over the age of 30 and who's into that kind of music, they know who the fucking Cramps are.
Right.
So, but just to see them get more, because that's another one for us. As you can tell from, like, a lot of our songs, there's, like, Girls Will Be Ghouls is definitely one. Nola Serenade, which is on one of our albums, is one. We have a song called Pretty Frankenstein, the song. And those three, I think there's, like, two more that are just, it's literally just me ripping off of the Cramps. Like, because I, like, love Lux and Ivy, like, so much,
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, I think that's the great thing about art is you can express yourself. And if you allow yourself to, if you allow yourself to not be worried about, oh, this sounds too different than what I did last time or whatever.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've told other, like, interviewers before is that, like, is because they're like, oh, how do you stay, like, original in, like, when, like, nothing's original nowadays, and how do you try to maintain originality? And I'm like, you don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just don't. Like, it's stupid to be like, what's this thing that, like, nobody's ever heard before?
Right.
But the combination of something can become original. So, like, with me and with us, we've been told by people that we have, like, kind of an original vibe or sound. And that's because, like, if you're ripping off of, say we rip off the Cramps, right? And every song we rip off the Cramps, then you're like, okay, they're like one of those bands. Even with some of the goth bands that I mentioned, it's like, okay, they're a goth band and it's obvious what their influences are. Mm-hmm. And that's great for marketing. Marketing wise, that is amazing. And I wish I could be a little more cohesive sometimes. But as far as like trying to be original, I've always felt like if you're taking from like, you could literally rip off of a bunch of things, but if you put it all into one thing, then it becomes like, what the fuck am I hearing? Like
Yeah.
this is completely original. If I'm super influenced by the like beat styles of, say a Lizzo or like a Rihanna song, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just drop in a little 808, and we're gonna do this and that. But then the guitar riff sounds like some bluesy Ivy Cramps thing, and then the bass line is like something you would hear from like a pop punk like do 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 thing, and suddenly you have this combination of things that are completely different from each other, and you're like, wait a second, like what is this? I feel like that's how things become original, is when we branch out as far as our influences go.
Yes. Yeah, that makes so much sense. By just allowing it to be what it is instead of not. Actually, it's like almost as harmful. Instead of like trying to sound like something, sometimes it's also just as harmful to like gatekeep yourself from allowing yourself to add those elements.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and something that I did in my old hip hop group, because around that time in my 20s, and this is honestly probably why I felt like an older person. Um, but in my 20s, I was, and I still somewhat am. It's died down a little bit, but I was completely obsessed with Tom Waits and Nick Cave,
Oh,
and those two artists were like some of my like favorite people, and I would sample Tom Waits songs in our hip hop songs, and like, and it sounds so weird because he's like a bluesy like trash can stomping blah 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 guy, but like when you turn one of his songs into a beat, it becomes like the fattest like fucking like most like beastish like beat. And it would just like every time we would do that, we would be like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like, so that's again like two completely different genres just becoming one thing.
yeah. Awesome. I love that. So you have a music video coming out tomorrow, right?
Okay, so we were going to, but then I've been waiting for a dress for like a couple of weeks to like come in the mail, and that did not happen.
Oh,
So, and it's like a very pivotal part of the music video that we're planning.
yeah.
But what we do have, and I'll spoil the surprise to the couple of people who might be in the chat.
and and that we're gonna also, because this is so good, so I am going to, re-release it, and we'll talk,
Oh,
but
oh,
it's too
thank
good
you.
to like keep it to just who's been in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that we are gonna do is we're putting out a little like demo on our Bandcamp page, and it's gonna be called it's our little like free gift to people for Valentine's Day, and
Oh,
it's gonna be called Roses and Cyanide,
oh, cool.
and so it will feature three songs on it. One is a cover, and yeah, one of the songs is officially mixed and mastered by Edward, our producer, and is like, is awesome. It's a song. It's a song about Pearl, uh, the movie, which is like one of my favorite movies right now.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Mia Goth is like, she like her like not getting nominated for an Oscar for that movie is fucking criminal because she does such a good job. But yeah, so we made a song about that, but then like in the fashion of making that song, our bassist Marina wrote a song about Tiffany from Chucky, and so that's on it as well. And
Oh,
then we have a cover of an old Lefty Frizzell song called "Long Black Veil" that features our friend Unwoman, who is a celloist. So like, so yeah, so it's gonna be like a fully mixed track that's gonna be on the album, and then 2 demo songs. So
That's so
I'm
awesome. On Bandcamp
yeah
tomorrow?
yes.
Okay, I'll definitely have to check that out.
And it's what's really cool is our bassist Marina. It's gonna be like her like singing debut. Like
Oh,
she'd never recorded. She's been in bands before, but she never recorded vocals before. And
oh,
so these are gonna be like the first songs that like people hear her voice on, and it's like she has such a classic like voice. It's so good, and it's just like, oh, I can't wait for people to hear it.
ooh, well, I'm excited. Now I'll definitely be looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you're still in the works to record the upcoming music video?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we'll have the video. We'll probably have the video within a couple of weeks, and then after that, we'll probably do a release of the single on Spotify, and
Ooh,
then uh, after that, we'll probably just keep putting out singles until the album is ready. Because we're currently working on an album that is going to be essentially like a lot of the songs we've been writing have been about movies, so it's very horror influenced, but also very like romantic. So you know, lots of lots of love and lots of horror going into this album coming up.
a match made in the heavens.
Yes.
Awesome. That's so cool. So that so if you watch the music video, you'll get to hear the song before you could hear it like on Spotify or anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Or you could just go to Bandcamp and
Okay.
download it and donate and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
the great thing about Bandcamp is that like we actually get money.
Yeah, definitely. I have to start using it more. I got like on the whole like train of Spotify because of the raps. It just the yearly
Yeah,
rap.
no, and it makes things so much easier for us too. Like if we put
Oh,
out a song and like we're on somebody's like release radar and stuff, and like I haven't been super paying attention to Spotify, our Spotify recently because we haven't put out anything since December. Um, so like it's like our listeners and everything have kind of dropped, but I'm planning for that to change by putting out some stuff. We'll have pre-saves and all that, but it is like Spotify is so much easier because you could just like make playlists, and it's Bandcamp is great though. I always encourage people to support artists on Bandcamp because it's like it's such a good tool, and they don't even like take that much. And they have their like Bandcamp Fridays every month where like 100% goes to the artist and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Um, Definitely I've got to support Bandcamp more. Um,
Yeah.
so from the music made, what's been your favorite to record to date? If you
I
have one.
would I would probably say Ghouls. Girls Will Be Ghouls.
Hmm.
You know, I think the Solstice Holiday one for December was really fun because like that was literally just stuff that we had outside of our house. We like went fucking crazy last year for like the holidays. Um and like I don't know why. Like normally we don't, but we were just I think it was just like pandemic brain.
Yeah.
So like while things were getting kind of worse, and we even had COVID for like a for
Oh.
a second, and like when we came out of it we were like, you know what, we're decorating the entire house,
Oh.
like we're going absolutely insane. And it was we took a like one of those Barbie playhouses, and we turned it into a gingerbread house. We like painted it and put like we used plastic cups for the gumdrops and everything. So that was super fun. To make this like winter wonderland video. Uh,
I have to watch that one. I guess I like skipped out on it because it's like not, holiday season anymore, but now I'll have to go back and watch that one.
yeah, and it was like it's funny because the influence for that song, and it's almost the exact same chords, was was Vampire Money by MCR, but it just sounds like it's some, classic punk song.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was fun because I was like in the little dollhouse for a lot of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that one was fun. And yeah, I'd probably say Ghouls. Another one is our video for Spooky Valentine, which like it's it's really it's good, it's great, and I love the friends that were in it. But there's like I have like a wig malfunction in the video, and like for some reason during editing, like I didn't catch it, and now it bothers me every
Oh,
fucking time
I
I
hate
watch that
that.
video.
I mean, like right now today, I keep like pulling my wig.
Yeah, there's like a part in the video where like the wig is like almost all the way back, and like I was like, how did I miss this? Um,
Oh,
but aside from that, that was a really fun one. She Put a Spell on Me was a fun one, and that was from our like one of our old lineups. But yeah, there's some fun times, and little tidbit about all of our music videos is most of them have been recorded at my house. If you can't tell,
that's so
and
cool though.
yeah, it's a mixture of budgeting and having like agoraphobia.
Oh, that's real
Oh,
though. It's
yeah, yeah.
so real. I mean, I don't know if I have agoraphobia, but I can sort of empathize because I have severe social anxiety, which I know is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it make like those two can often coincide. And
Yeah.
for me, I had like a really like traumatic experience in like 2018 or 2017, and since then, like it's been like like I'll play shows and stuff, but like it's super hard to leave because I live on an island,
Mm,
and so like leaving the island is something that I honestly do like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And it's like it sucks because like in 2019 when we were playing more shows and everything,
yeah.
it was like getting way better, and like we were doing a whole bunch of stuff like all the time,
Hmm.
and like performing constantly. Like I would play like 3 4 shows a month, and and then when the pandemic happened, it was just like, oh well, that's you know
Yeah.
leaving home is not a thing right now. So I think that kind of like fucked us all up mentally, but like
Yeah.
hopefully here's to coming out of it a little you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. I definitely hope it gets better or it like helps because I know it can be really rough.
Yeah, I have my tools. I have like a little journal where I write down my thoughts when I'm like traveling. I have my like, breathing exercise and my meditation stuff, and like, there's so many things that like I just, use. There's also alcohol. I'm not the one driving, so it's fine.
I know, same. I was like, I've said before, like, is there a pill that makes me feel how I feel when I'm buzzed? Because that instantly makes, well, for me anyway, it makes my social anxiety go away. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, like is there some legal pill that like I can like take to drive, but
Exactly. That just gets you like to that point where you could still like function, but you just care a little bit less.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um. So, what do you wish? Because I know you said you've done, interviews in the past. Is there anything you wish you have been asked or would be asked that you've never been asked before?
I was thinking about this one. I'm like I'm not sure because like I've been I've been interviewed a lot of times, and like when I do my interviews with our friend Michelle Halloween, like we usually do some kind of trivia that I actually end up being really bad at. Um, because I don't like I retain like music knowledge, but then like sometimes if you throw something at me on the spot, I'm just like,
Anything
um,
from the spot. Like, I don't know if you saw that when it was a trend, that like alphabet filter.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to like name bands even though like no one else is in the room and you're just recording yourself and you're just like
You're like, what F? I don't know. Star Wars. Shit, no. Um,
yeah, exactly.
but yeah, I'm not sure. Like I could definitely talk like all day, because that's just what I do when it comes to myself. But you know, like yeah, I can't think of anything that
Oh,
anybody's.
no worries. Well, that's a good thing too. There doesn't have to be an answer to that, but sometimes I feel like there might be things uh, artists want to talk about and they never get asked. Because no one thinks to ask.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely like, there's things that like a lot of interviewers don't ask me about because of like time constraints and
Yeah.
something sometimes. Like, like I can rarely talk about like, any like mental issues or like, like I don't get to spread as much like awareness on certain things or. Um, but yeah, it's yeah. I'm losing my train of thought. But
It's all good.
like so one thing that I will say cuz okay, so a lot of people don't know that okay, so if instead of was that the last question?
There's just two more, which is what do you hope that your listeners and fans get from your music? And then if there's anything you want to say to fans and, you know, supporters and
Okay, cool, cool.
yeah.
Um awesome. Well, as far as what I would like fans to get from my music, I would probably say like I don't know, just kind of like being this is really cheesy, but like, kind of like being yourself and allowing yourself to be yourself and like, I hope that when people listen to us it like kind of I don't know, I hope there's like self-love but also there's um empathy to know that they're like not alone whatever they're going through because we have both like sad like dark broody songs which I feel like people can relate when they're in you know whatever situation.
Yeah.
But then we also have like a lot of set like in mirrors when we made that album. um it was very much like I was kind of at a point where I was like, you know what, like fuck this, fuck like, you know, um, you know, a lot of stuff that's going on in the world, and I was like, that was kind of like a not only like a speaking out album, but also like a hey, it's okay to feel these things
Mm.
album. Like specifically the song in Mirrors is very much like, hey, like we're broke and we're queer and like that's all cool to be. Like
Yeah.
don't like fucking trip on like what society is like thinking you're supposed to be as like an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, I just hope that people see us and they're like, oh, cool, like other weirdos, awesome. Like,
Absolutely. No, that's honestly so important. It's so important. It's seriously one of the most important things, and I do think you inspire that. Honestly, I'm excited to continue to listen to your music and continue to dive deeper. But I'm so glad that we did this because you know watching your videos and listening to music, it does make me feel that
oh,
way.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that. It's like, you know, I feel like we have certain odds stacked against us, but to like kind of play them into your favor. Like with me, I'm a plus size trans Filipino Iranian girl, with a very deep voice. Like I am like you know conservative TikTok target, but to play that into our advantage, it's like, showing people that I hope that like when they see me or like us, they're like, any plus size person, any like, Asian person, any Middle Eastern person, any like queer person can like see us and be like, oh, I don't have to be this version of the things that I am. I feel like a lot of the time
Yeah.
on TikTok, like or even like Instagram or anything, when it comes to trans people, what is, really pushed, to the front for society is like the model-esque, like white, trans girl that isn't exactly easy to clock. And, like I'm not that at all, and like my friends aren't that, and like, my bandmates are two queer women of color, so it's like, you know, I hope that people see that and they're like, cool, like here's like representation, but it's also goth representation, but it's also this representation, but it's, you know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. And that's so obviously there's like based on your identity, there's so many like layers to it too. But I think in a way that kind of applies to everyone because there are these societal standards that most people don't meet. So I think the more that all of us are just ourselves and can find a way to be comfortable and accept ourselves as
Yeah.
not to say, if you have something that you want to change about yourself or if you want to self-actualize in a way, not saying you shouldn't self-actualize, but just more to say that, I mean, self-actualization is being yourself. So
Yeah.
it's just,
And
yeah.
and that goes for so many things. That goes for like people in the goth scene. That goes for people in, all kinds of scenes. And, you know, it's really trippy because there's a lot of like people hear Asian artists a lot of the time, I feel like, and they kind of have, the K-pop or the J-pop,
Mm,
or Japanese rock or something in their head, which I do love both of those. But, I am really digging the fact that like my people are like just now starting to be represented. Like I'm seeing like so many cool Filipino things now, and like I would love to be like when somebody, another Filipino person sees like, oh, there's this goth band that's like actually doing stuff, like other Filipino goths, awesome, because
yes.
like so many of us are actually goth and are actually like queer. It's really okay. So it's really trippy. I have to go on about Filipino stuff, like, any chance that I get. But
Yes.
like, so I got really into like, I had, Filipino family growing up and everything, but like, I got really into our culture only within the past like couple of years during the pandemic. And I started finding out like a lot of really cool shit about like Filipinos and like pre-colonization Filipinos that like before King Philip and Spain and
Yeah.
the English like invaded us, and it was like it was so cool. Like, so Filipinos are very much into like we have creatures in our mythology that are like fucking insane. We have like wolf creatures. We have shape shifting creatures. We have like, ghost creatures that are like deeply rooted in the Filipino mythology and the Filipino world. And the one that I got like really obsessed with, like reading about, was one called the Manananggal. And it is okay, so like, so I get super excited
No,
talking
that's
about
awesome. I love it.
um it is the okay. So I feel like all of like Hollywood, when they're tapping into like Babadooks or like La Lloronas and stuff, it's like they're like missing out so much on this one creature, because the Mononongo is a bat banshee
Ooh.
vampire. It's known as a Filipino vampire, and she one thing she's known for is she has like a really long tongue, that she, I guess, takes unborn babies out of pregnant people,
Oh my god.
which, yeah, already pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
But what's even more gruesome and like so like metal
Yeah.
is the creature is half a body. So
What?
she literally like rips her torso off
Yeah.
and is just like is like a you know like the upper torso, the wings, and the like the head and like just like guts and stuff hanging out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, like, dude, like, get like this is such. If you got the K and B like Craig Nicotero people to like to work on something and make like a Mononongo movie where like she's just like flying and it's just like
Yeah, that would be
entrails and this vampire bat at your window, that would be so badass. Anyway,
yes. Especially if they do it justice.
yeah, exactly. And so that's one of the creatures. And then like I did all this reading about like Filipino gods and gods and goddesses, and there was like we had like transgender gods that or androgynous gods that we worshipped, like I believe is it Lakapati, the goddess of fertility, which we all know means just the goddess of sex because pre-colonized language, fertility usually just refers to sex. Um, but but then the Catholics came and they were
Right.
like, oh, we can't say that. So but like they're like an androgynous god. There's what is it? There's Lebulon and Sidapa who have like a queer relationship, and that's the god of death and the moon god, and they're like, and it's like all of this stuff is like so cool. So like me being like a queer goth Filipino, like reading all the queer stuff and reading all the spooky stuff, I'm just like, oh my god, that's like so cool. So like it really helped with having like this like absolute love for my culture and like what we were before colonization.
Yeah, wow. Oh, that's so deep too because it's like your own culture that you like your roots are in your culture whether you were before you were like super familiar with it or not. Your roots as a person were still in that culture. And then it's wild to see yourself reflected back in your culture, things that
Yeah.
have been stripped by colonization, and then you just get yourself reflected back to you. Like that's so wild.
Yeah, and it's so
It,
cool because like, I feel like a lot of like Filipinos, like especially like Filipino kids, like, would feel like kind of like outsiders in their families, if they're into like subcultures or if they're into like, alternative lifestyle or horror or anything, because like so many of our families are very deeply rooted in the Catholicism and the colonization that they don't realize that like, oh, this isn't how we've always been.
right.
And so like I always push to tell like any if there's ever any like little goth Filipino kid like, you know, watching me perform or listening to my music or, seeing me on something, like I always like implore like, no, that is your culture. Like you are literally just like being a part of
Oh,
what your people are. So like don't feel like you're not because you're not Catholic. You know what I mean?
right. Totally. And it's so funny because I know that there's a lot of parallels between like Filipino and Mexican
Yeah.
culture because of Spain, because of Spanish
Yeah.
colonization. Um, and this is like my ignorance, but is Philip is the language largely spoken Filipino? Is that like what it's called, the language that's not like the pre-colonized language, but like currently?
Yeah, so
Uh,
so currently our main language, but there's so many different dialects, and there are like apparently there's like thousands of languages, but the most known one is Tagalog.
Okay.
And Tagalog is like it it just sounds like a bunch of chickens falling down the stairs a lot of the time. It's like, it's very, very cluck and like, you know what I mean? Like we like, so I only know mostly like swear words and like threats, but like putaganamo is one of our, words, which is like, that's every if you're wondering if somebody is Filipino, just wait for them to like drop something, and then they'll probably be like, "Oy putaganamo," like that's, and then like, but it's a very ga, you know, like manang, like it's those sounds.
Uh-huh. Wow. And so is that language, I mean, if that's like the most, I guess, you widely used slash known, is that influenced by Spanish at all, or was that like a traditional language?
Oh no, it's for sure like it's super influenced by Spanish. Like half of the words are the same. So like
Got
if you speak Spanish, chances are you speak like half Filipino or half Tagalog. Um, it's like it's there's a lot of it integrated in there, but then we also have like the Pacific Island, like Asian sound to it, like
Okay.
that was from before colonization. So the both of them put together makes Tagalog, and it's so trippy to like research the stuff because there's like literally like it's really hard to find like a lot of stuff about Philippines pre-colonization because the Philippines are a product entirely of colonization because before it was just like thousands of like little cities and islands and stuff, and then King Philip came and was like, "Oh, I'm calling this the Philippines," and so like even our name is a product of colonization. So it is hard to get the knowledge to completely connect to our roots, but
Yeah.
you know,
But you find what you can.
yeah, you find what you can and you run with it.
Yeah, definitely. That's so wild. Like, I feel like we could go on about colonization forever, but I think a lot about it too because, well, like my background, I guess I'm half Mexican, half white, but even in that, it's like a lot of different stuff. Like on my Mexican side, there's actually some Peruvian,
Oh,
and
nice.
like, and then that in itself, like when you're, I guess, of an identity that is now linked with the nationality. Like Mexican's a country. It's not like indigenous people to the land weren't Mexican. They were
Yeah,
indigenous, right? So it's like everyone of that indigenous background gets erased because now it's just Mexican or Latino or whatever. And it
yeah,
like erases indigenous people from Central and South America when you're in
yeah,
the United States. So there's just all these layers and just the parts of ourselves and our cultures that get erased. Like the things you're talking about that you discovered, where you see yourself reflected back to, but it's all
yeah,
erased by these cultures that colonized us globally. And even white people were colonized by other white people. So, like, even.
yeah. Like Irish people, because I have
Ah,
some Irish, and like we were super like you know Irish people were super colonized and like treated like shit, and like it's so crazy. And then for us, if you look at the how like the Japanese were to the Philippines, it's like, oh, it's like really fucked up. But and like even stuff that my grandma was like witnessed or like fled from. But yeah, it really is wild because like trying to, and I'm in that same boat with you where like I'm trying to find out like things about the indigenous Filipino
right.
people that weren't Filipino. They were the indigenous people of that land.
Exactly.
So it's trippy.
Yeah.
But
So, what were you going to say?
oh no, I lost it. But I love it when when the music talk goes into colonization.
It has to.
Yeah.
But But no, awesome. Well, I don't know what you have planned, but I think the last thing I'll ask is go just revisiting that question. It sounded like you were going to mention something about what you would like to be asked, but then you were like, "Well, what other questions do we have?" So I just want to revisit that before.
Oh yeah, what's okay? So a lot of people don't know, uh, and I talk about it like rarely in my in interviews and stuff, but like I've actually been doing like comedy for like 10, 11 years on the side of music.
That's awesome.
And I don't promote that as much, but like if you go to a Pretty Frankenstein show at especially if you go to like when we play the comedy club out here, it's like and chances are I'll do like a 15-minute set or something. But
Awesome.
but one the thing that I did want to say about that is I and it's just kind of random. Um, I just love that half of the comedians that I see now are like trans. Like it's it's like it's really cool for me. That has nothing to do with like goth or music or anything, but like it's every day that I'm like scrolling on TikTok, I will see like 10 like trans comedians, and I think that is awesome. And
That is awesome.
yes, we to any of us doing comedy, keep doing comedy.
Yes, keep doing any art form that
Yeah, because like
you.
so the thing for me was like one of the jokes for me when I open up a set is like I'm a plus size uh trans Asian woman, and so if we were doing a show in 2005, half of the other comedians on this bill would be like, oh, fuck, that's like all of my material. So like you know it
That's
is
so true.
it is great to see like more of us doing things like comedy, and like I I would like to put like straight like cis white folks in the same amount of uncomfortable that we've been over the years. So like it's like a goal to like be on like an all like trans or queer comedy lineup, and we just have like one white cis dude that's there, and like and just to watch his face like during the
Yeah.
everybody else's sets. Oh, it'd be so good. Anyway.
That's so real though, like just on so many levels, just like how the mainstream is obviously white, or I don't know if the word is mainstream, but the standard, like when you see advertisements or whatever, just like representation period is
Yeah, the default
the
setting.
default. There you go. That's exactly what I was going for. The default is white, and so when white people have to experience not being the default, or like what's typically flipped of like,
Oh,
oh, I'm
I
the
lo-
only one of my identity in the room. It's like, well,
yeah.
that's how a lot of people feel.
Oh, I love it. I live for
Yeah.
that. And it's what's great is that like we have been a queer band. To bring it back to music, we've been a queer band most of our existence, because like when I even when I was presenting differently, I was still pan. But like it's really cool now because like, and while I love Edward, who is cis and like somewhat straight, um, and he was our drummer, but now we have it's all people of color and it's all queer people, and it's like yeah, and
Yeah.
even so, Edward is a person of color, which is awesome, and we love Edward, but like he would always say like you know when we play a song like Pronouns or something like that, um, he would always be like, I feel like kind of like a like left out or not. He's like not left out, but he's like I feel kind of like like I'm impinging and like don't belong when we play certain songs,
Oh,
and I'm like, no, no, dude, like it's total, like you have ally, you have he has massive ally energy, so you know.
that's awesome. But I get what you're saying about now. It's like a whole other level. That
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now it's like if you are a queer POC goth, like we're the band for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so excited. And then for hello, Sarush. Hey, Sarush. Um, so we are talking with Gray Starr of Pretty Frankenstein, and they are releasing some tracks tomorrow on Bandcamp. Woo!
Woo!
And
Oh
have
wait,
oh sorry, go
I
ahead.
I feel like an alt goth renaissance is coming. I can feel the rumble of the wave building. Yes, yes. That is the pocket that I am going to slide in.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this has been awesome. And so I'm sure you have things going on, and so we can definitely wrap this up. But before we
For
do,
sure.
just like wrapping up what you have coming, which is the releases tomorrow on Bandcamp, music video
Yes.
coming out also in the near future. Um, and what about shows? Have you all ever? I mean, I guess this is a segue to sort of a question, but have you ever like toured or played shows, or is that in the works anytime in the future?
We haven't toured. I used to tour a lot with like other bands, just like little California, like or like West Coast or something. But Pretty Frankenstein hasn't toured. That's because of me being a spicy brained. But
Yeah.
I am hoping to eventually get us like at least a West Coast tour. But for now, we have two shows coming up in my town, and then I'm hoping to we're trying to get some Oakland spots and Berkeley shows this year too. But like, yeah, mostly we just play the Bay Area because there are a lot of spaces that have closed down and everything, but there's still like so much. The Bay Area is so vast. Like a band could literally like tour just the Bay Area and go from like, San Jose to Berkeley to SF to Oakland to, Walnut Creek and Concord even have cool venues now. But yeah, so yeah, our next show is actually one that I'm super stoked for, and it is this Friday. And we are going to be opening for Hoity Toity and Boy Jr.
Ah, okay.
And definitely go check out if you don't know Hoity Toity or Boy Jr. They are like they are amazing. They're like huge on TikTok, which is great, but they're also just like great fun acts. Like Boy Jr. Like I've been following them for and both queer acts that are just awesome. But like I've been following Boy Jr. for a little while, and the one of the things that I love the most was, and this brings us to goth stuff, is they did a video that was it was a response to somebody's comment about like Nine Inch Nails, and it turned into this song about because I think the person had said like, oh, you don't know about Nine Inch Nails or something like that, or Trent Reznor this and that. Trent Reznor wouldn't approve of this or something like that, right? And they did a whole song just called Trent Reznor's Not Gonna Fuck You. And it's like my favorite thing.
That is the best. I was First of all, I wasn't expecting that, and it's like the best like comeback you could come up with. Like,
Yeah, and like half of their songs are like they make actual music, but like half of the songs that they put up on their TikTok is like a response to like is a trolling response, and it's so good. Like I live for it. So yeah, we're gonna be playing with them on Friday at this art gallery in Alameda, and it's a benefit for the Alameda Unified School District's LGBTQ roundtable. So like, we're raising money so that they can like, put on like programs and events and stuff. So like, I'm super stoked for that. And yeah, that's something that's coming up that I can't wait for. I just hope it doesn't rain. So
Put it out there that it doesn't, but that's
yeah.
incredible. And thank you for everything. Thank you for, taking the time, for sharing everything you've shared, and just for what you do. Like, you literally are, I know earlier you touched on there are things that you can't really speak on too much just for time constraints, and everything's such a wormhole to go down. But like, even just today, you've touched on more representation for people of color, LGBT, queer, uh, individuals, and different, I guess, neurodivergence or
Yeah.
health. And you are living it, and even in doing this like fundraiser, like, you're using your music to support and uplift people in so many ways, so that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And like, I mean, I don't super talk about it like constantly because I'm not trying to Bono and like, you know what I mean, and like push people to certain things.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if you go to a Pretty Frankenstein show, or if you download certain songs off of our Bandcamp, it's usually supporting something. So like, I think the last three shows that we've done, including this one, no, four, including this one, have all been fundraisers for different causes. One of the ones that we did last year was because I'm vegan, so like, we did one for the local animal shelter that's like
Oh,
that doesn't like put down animals and stuff, like, and they're very like, like anti like cruelty to animals kind of shelter.
yeah.
So we did a benefit for that, and then we also did a benefit for like a women's shelter, and then this one's going to be for the round table, and then like a lot of our songs that we have up on Bandcamp and stuff. If you, hey Judah, what's up? I am Judah J is in the chat, and he is actually one of my old bandmates from Spirits in the Basement, and we
Oh,
still collab and stuff. And I'm putting one of the songs that we collaborated on onto like the next like official album, so that's
oh,
dope.
nice.
But like, but yeah, most of our songs like that you would get on Bandcamp, or we have like full albums that are just like straight up fundraisers. And it's been really cool to be able to like donate to causes from that. We have the cover of You're Dead, from the What We Do in the Shadow soundtrack, the theme song. Really cool thing about that song is it's actually a the person that made the original song was Norma Tanega, and she was a queer Filipino woman from the Bay Area in the 60s. And that
Oh,
song's from the 60s. And it's like, when I found that out, because I loved the song from What We Do in the Shadows. And when I found that out, like, I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And like, I guess she had like a relationship with like Dusty Springfield, and they were like gay together. And like, and she like lived in San Francisco, which like is not far from me at all. And it's like, I'm like, it's just like
yeah.
all the things.
I love how you are. It seems like you're like finding things that like are mirroring yourself like back to you.
Yeah, it's so trippy, like, and it happens like all the time too. So that's pretty great. But yeah, so even that cover that we did of that song is was a fundraiser for a group out here called Alameda Island Filipinx, and they do like Filipino cultural events and stuff. We've done like stuff for to like stop Asian hate campaigns. We've done like, so like it's we're constantly trying to like, work for some kind of cause.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, just one slash many more reasons to support Pretty Frankenstein. And
Yeah.
hello, Turn Off the Thunder and Shadow Glitcher 7. We are here with
Ooh.
Gray Starr from Pretty Frankenstein. We pretty much just wrapped up this interview, but it was so amazing. So we're going to find a way to re-release either clips and or the full thing because it was just so great all around.
Yay, thank you. And yeah, sorry if I like talk.
No,
I ramble for sure.
so do I. I mean, I even talk to myself.
Same.
So, but no, seriously, you're awesome. You're such good vibes too.
Oh,
So,
thank you. You too. And thank you for having me on here.
yeah, same. And I'm excited to check out your releases on Bandcamp tomorrow. And I hope you have an amazing time on Friday.
All right. Yeah, yeah, you too. And thank you again so much. And yeah, I'm super down to chat with you anytime. And
Oh, same.
yeah.
We'll definitely be seeing you on TikTok and now. Otherwise, I'll check you out on Bandcamp too, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Hi, you too. Take it easy.
Bye. You too. Hello. Hello. Thank you. Oh, yeah, you're awesome. Thanks for being in here. We did just wrap up an interview with Starr of Pretty Frankenstein. So if you haven't checked them out, definitely do. Like, I was so excited. Oh, hi, Joshua Kingdom 77 in the house. If you're still here, okay, do you know about Pretty Frankenstein? They are in the Bay Area. How are you? Joshua Kingdom 77 is always out here doing the Lord's work for real. So if you're not following them, I do recommend. But yeah, Pretty Frankenstein, awesome queer POC, punk, goth. Well, they really don't label themselves, but if you're into punk, if you're into goth, if you're into post-punk and death rock, I think you definitely appreciate them. But they do a lot for the community in the Bay Area, and they're playing a show this Friday that's actually a benefit show. That's what I'm looking for. Benefit show for a youth LGBTQ group. Yes, I will definitely send you their information. I'll send you the show information too, since you're local, if you can go. So yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for hopping in. And it was a great interview. So again, I am going to go ahead and figure out how to reshare either in clips or the whole thing. Oh, hey! Yes, thank you. That was honestly so amazing. So yes, I'm going to end this live now, but thanks everyone for hopping in. We'll definitely figure out those shares and have an awesome evening, day, week. Bye! Good vibes.